In central parts of the continent, Congolese have reacted to the ongoing voting exercise in the country, marked by severe logistical problems and delays. Elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo were extended after widespread delays, opposition allegations of fraud, violence and logistical setbacks. Voting in the country's presidential and legislative elections began on Wednesday after almost a 3-hour delay as authorities scrambled to finalize preparations in an election facing steep logistical and security challenges. The commission said voting will continue on Thursday in polling stations that were unable to open on polling day. And to talk about this, I'm being joined live on the news by an analyst with the Center for Research on the Congo Kinshasa, Kambale Musavuli. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Good afternoon.
Now, elections are still going on at the moment, but what's your assessment so far, especially in Goma, where you had the opportunity to witness the process?
It's important to really put in context the chaos that has taken place, to also understand the frustration of the Congolese people. These elections have been known for the past 5 years that they will take place on December 20th, 2023. For 5 years, there has not been really planned to have a free and fair election. It cost the Congo $1.2 billion to organize this. But what unfolded yesterday could not be called an election. We've had polling stations that did not even open. So imagine you waking up in the morning and you go to vote and they're telling you that they don't have electoral kit. That's one. There are people who were told, according to the regulations given, that the election is from 6 to 5. And from 6 to 5, many of the polling stations did not open. Right? And others open up to 3 p.m. The video that you show an elector, right, a voter who was able to vote at 3 p.m. And then there are already reports of electoral fraud where the result published yesterday at the polling station are appearing today as different numbers. So that is causing a lot of frustration with people. What I actually think is the positive situation with the election is that we did not have a lot of report of violence. That is actually very good for the Congo to see that people responded to the call for the elections massively, but they are now disappointed, and it's causing a lot of frustration with the population now. The top 5 contenders of the elections, top 5 of the opposition presidential candidates have come out to call for a re-election. So we'll see what is going to unfold as they make this call for the reorganization of another election for the DRC.
Okay, what are some of the main priorities or expectations citizens, have in mind for any leader who emerges?
The first one is peace and security in the Congo. The Congo has had over 2 decades of war. In the eastern part of DRC, millions have died. Over 6 million Congolese have died to the conflict for the scramble of Congo's mineral resources. That's the top priority. The incumbent president promised us 5 years ago that he'll bring about peace and stability. A year before the election, there is a violence that spurred with the M23 rebels. So the number one priority is peace and security in DRC. The second one is an improvement in the livelihood of the Congolese. The Congolese live with less than $1 a day, vast majority of the population. But this is a country that has so much wealth, right? That is estimated that the wealth of the Congo is the United States and Europe GDP combined. Yet people don't have access to job opportunities. They don't have access to adequate health care, adequate education. So the improvement in the livelihood is one. And third, which has been the call for Congolese since 1960. They want to choose their leader freely and democratically. They don't want to be imposed with a leader. They don't want to rig the election. They want to be able to elect a leader just as they did with Patrice Lumumba. So those 3 expectations are the most important expectations at this election taking place in DRC.
Let's talk about the independent bodies, observing or conducting these elections. You've talked about chaos and lack of organization that have marked this election. But how are they responding to it so far?
It was predictable that the chaos would take place the way they organize it. They asked Congolese to go re-register to vote, right, earlier this year, and gave Congolese a voter registration card where within a month, the face of the voter will disappear. Already back then, opposition leaders were already screaming that there is an intent to actually rig the election, because that's not normal for that to take place. Now let's be not concrete with what happened in the past 24 hours. The Electoral Commission, with all the delays taking place, has made an illegal decision, right? It's against the Congolese constitution, have made a decision to expand elections by a day or more, whereby the polling stations that were not open will open on the second day of the elections to allow anyone else to vote. We know we have 44 million voters. We know that the second day we may not have the same type of witnesses as we had on the day of the election. This is why it's causing frustration in the opposition, in the people following the elections, saying that how can the Electoral Commission make an illegal decision to extend the vote without proper due process? So that's another issue. The second one is that last night, the Electoral Commissioner, Denis Kadima, made an announcement that they have about 70% of the vote. Him presenting this information to the press is not proper, because one, we do not even have the data that promised that we will see to actually understand what is unfolding. So whenever he's saying that he already knows who's the winner, we have about 70% of the votes already in, without providing the data, that can cause also an issue. And on the side of the civil society, specifically the Congolese people, we do have observers, mainly organized by the Catholic Church, Senko. We have 40,000 polling stations across the Congo, and Senko has 25,000 observers. And for the past 24 hours, they've put out already 2 statements around the credibility of the elections. So we will see as the day ends and the week ends, what other issues that will bring up. But what is clear, what we saw yesterday was not an election. It was really a selection and probably a nomination of someone who probably will not win the presidential election. But it is to see. The Congolese people are watching the process. They engage in the process. There's not been any violence, but they're challenging the illegality of extending the election to another day, and also announcing results when not provided with the proper data for verification.
All right, thank you so much for that detailed update all the way from DR Congo. Kambale Musavuli, Analyst, Center for Research on Congo, Kinshasa. Thank you once again.
Thank you.